From the mountains of British Columbia with a hard right turn at Chicago's Willis Tower and on to listeners around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio. It's day 3 of Dave's Not Here. However, Dave is in San Francisco, where he's speaking at UFO Con 2020. Don't worry, he'll be back on Monday. In the meantime, my name is Everett Thiemer, and while Dave is away, he was kind enough to ask me to sit in the captain's chair, and I'm happy to do it. I'm also happy to welcome you, along with Kingdom Eye Radio and Revolution Radio, to tonight's broadcast. If you happen to miss any part of tonight's show, you can listen to our archives for free at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. Just do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including keeping up to date on the weird news of the world, as well as Florida Man's latest adventures at Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, picking up a stylish t-shirt in the vault, or joining the Space Travelers Club, where for $5 a month, you can join our ongoing private chat, give us your thoughts in our forums, and check out some exclusive content like the Iyer Perspective by Florida's very own Kelly Iyer. And of course, tonight's show is brought to you by the fine people at Chive Charities. Please head on over to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, chivecharities.org, as we work to make the world 10% better. Tonight, MJ Banias was originally scheduled to join us to talk about the Skinwalker Ranch and some other things. But an extremely close friend of his family passed away suddenly today. And out of respect, we just decided to reschedule his interview for the future. We're going to give his family some time to deal with everything that they've got to deal with and not pressure him to be here. And I want to say all of us here at Spaced Out Radio are sending our thoughts and love to MJ and his family. And I know that I speak for you guys when I say that you are too. We all feel quite badly for him. So in light of everything, we are still committed to bringing you quality, and there is no better quality than Dr. Bob McGwier. Dr. McGwier has a Ph.D. in mathematics and is a professor at Virginia Tech, as well as the chief scientist of the Hume Center for National Security and Technology. He is also the president of the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Tracking Network, where they believe that the more people scanning the skies means a better understanding of the phenomena, and they are developing the technology to make the search available to everyone. Then, in the final half hour, Richard Black joins me one more time to see if we can keep our conversation on course and talk about some of the news that you may have missed. Dr. McGwier, I want to say thank you so much for stepping in at the last minute to be on Spaced Out Radio.
Everett, I'm very happy to be here, and please, if you'll allow me, I've followed MJ Banias for a while on Twitter and in social media, and I've really enjoyed the Skinwalker Ranch article in Vice, and I wish to pass along my deepest condolences and best wishes to MJ, his family, and his friend's family, and I'm deeply sorry for his loss.
Yeah, I think we all feel badly for him, and I know he appreciates everyone that wishes him well. He is such a nice guy, and this is just a terrible tragedy. But we have to switch gears a little bit, and the reason I want to switch gears is because you are actually at UFO Con 2020, aren't you?
I am indeed. I came here principally to support my good friend Chris Bledsoe, but also to begin telling some people about the UAP tracking network.
Yeah, we're going to talk quite deeply about that. I've just recently become aware of what you're doing, and it looks like important and fascinating work. But I have to ask, have you seen Dave Scott?
I have seen Dave Scott. Dave and I, we've kind of hit it off, and I spent a fair amount of time talking with Dave, and he has been hilariously entertaining so far.
Is he being good?
He's being super good.
I guess I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, he's been great. I was on the Ask Me Anything part of one of his shows, and he's cleaned up nicely. You almost wouldn't recognize him in a suit with a neatly trimmed beard, his hair perfectly combed. He looks terrific.
I don't know. He's one of those long-haired fellows, though, and I don't know. I don't trust a lot of those guys. They're a little sketchy sometimes.
Well, I don't have that problem because I'm as bald as a cue ball.
Oh, that's okay. So tell me a little bit, because like I said, I just became aware of, in the last few days, the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Tracking Network. Can you give us a little bit of an overview of what this is and kind of how it got started? What pushed it along?
Okay, so two people in here, myself and Joel Griffin Dodd, both of us are not believers or followers of UAPs or UFOs. We were not really. We'd occasionally see a news story, watch some science fiction, occasionally watch the goofy YouTube videos, but no big deal until the Pentagon announced that UAPs were buzzing around naval ships, and the New York Times covered the story, and To the Stars Academy began. And I'm not that familiar with Tom DeLonge, but I was familiar with every one of the people that sat behind him on that stage because of my years of involvement working for the government. And so we developed an interest. Two of us joined the Richard Dolan Forum because he's kind of a very serious, historical, fact-based person. And we decided, look, there's a lot of stuff going on, but there's not a lot of people that are enabling all of these interested people in seeing if they can observe with the modern equipment unidentified aerial phenomenon and take advantage of major trends in new technology. So today you can buy what 15 years ago would have been a truly expensive supercomputer for about $40 and sit it in your home, and it has the cute name of Raspberry Pi. And so this Raspberry Pi is a really interesting computer with very good capabilities, and a recent version, the Raspberry Pi 4, has kind of all the things you would need on it to grab video, look for unusual things in the video, and take the snippet that you found that has interesting things in it and send it on for analysis. So it takes an instrument, captures the data, and transfers it for further analysis. But in addition to that, we did some research of all sorts of things that are done by NIDS and BASS and others, and other people who follow these things, and realized that accompanying these UAPs when they happen to show up are impulses in magnetic fields, sharp spikes of light, changes in air pressure, changes in temperature. So in addition to what everybody wants is a good video, other supporting data is gathered contemporaneously with the video. So at the same time we're capturing the video, we're also going to catch all sorts of other data, which you will call metadata, to go with the video to help us identify things that are truly anomalous. So in addition to this obvious grab the data and store it, there is a revolution going on in the computer world and data world. People roughly call it artificial intelligence and or machine learning. And it's become very, very easy to take already trained models that are done by major professionals, Google and Facebook and other entities, that allow you to pick out moving objects that are found in video and identify them as something you might want to record. So you can take a known model for, hey, this is something that might be interesting, and you're enabled to train it further when you gather new data. So these computers are getting so smart, and they have an advantage. They don't need to go to sleep at night and don't have to go to work. They can work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, never ceasing to look. And in addition to that, all technology is just getting dramatically more capable and dramatically cheaper. And so it seemed to us when we got together and began talking about this that now was the time you could put together reasonably inexpensive instruments and help gather data and make it widely available to the public to take a look at the data gathered, and scientists or just people that are just plain interested to get the data and look at it. And so that's been our goal. So already we've identified pan, tilt, and zoom cameras. That's cameras that you can point and zoom with them. And we have fisheye camera that will look at the whole sky and find things to point to pan, tilt, and zoom to look at. And then the other data that surrounds us that I mentioned before that gives you kind of the situational awareness of the things that are in the environment that are being affected by whatever it is we're taking a video of. So,
okay. But before
yep.
Go ahead. Just finish your thought.
Yeah. I was just going to say. So we found one guy joined us. His name is Steve, and Steve is a brilliant computer programmer, just brilliant. And he and the rest of us have put together hardware and software and written 50,000 lines of code in a little over 6 weeks in order to do all this data capture and identification stuff. And we're getting ready to roll out our first instrument prototype where we can learn from our mistakes.
Okay. Yeah, I want to break down some of this technology and some of the different components a little bit. But first I want to ask you, when people talk about computing power and how it seems to grow exponentially, it always goes back to the space capsules were powered by something less powerful than your cell phone. And one of the things I always like to ask people is, if you were traveling in space or up to the moon, would you trust your cell phone to power the space capsule you're in?
And so I can tell you that I would not trust the cell phone, but I have a kind of an asset or a privilege, if you will, that others don't. The technology that's in the cell phone is capable of doing the computations, but what has not been done to it is package it in a packaging that will allow it to withstand the rigors of going into space, vacuum, with cosmic radiation and other things it's going to find on the way to the moon. So the technology in the cell phone is perfectly capable of doing the navigational and control computing that has to be done, but it has to be repackaged so it can withstand radiation and other things that would happen to it in space. So a lot of people don't realize that as soon as you leave the Earth's atmosphere, all parts start shooting out all sorts of gas that are come from the materials that make up the electronic instrument you're sending in orbit, because they're suddenly in a hard vacuum. So you have to worry about that gas doing all sorts of damage. So there's lots of things to consider before you would send some technology to the moon. The cell phone is capable technically, but not practically, so it has to be repackaged in order to make it feasible.
Okay, I get that. It's just, so often people make the comparison or use the comparison when they talk about how the power of technology has grown. And I just like to ask people, because sometimes, I think about my phone, and if I have a message going and I get a phone call and I have the internet open, my phone crashes typically.
Ah, yes. So I can just tell you the rate of change in the technology in these phones is so dramatic that these things are now literally supercomputers, and the things that cause a phone's computer to slow down, the phone industry is now learning how to add little special purpose devices that attach to that computer that take all that load off the phone. So it's just going to get more and more and more capable as time goes by.
Okay, with what you're developing, what is the end goal for this? And I promise we're going to break down some of the components and things like that, but is this something that somebody could run in their house? Is that the goal, to kind of have these all over the place? Would it be something that maybe a university or even a high school would build to to do these collections and maybe use it as an experiment at the school? What is the...
Absolutely. You're right on the money. So there's kind of 3 levels of entry with the hardware we're proposing. Everyone will use exactly the same software. And software and the computer are kind of the cheapest parts of the entire system. So the software will say to whatever instruments that are attached, I can identify what you are, and I can make available all those instruments to record data whenever there's something of interest in my vicinity. So the computer software will figure out what's hooked up to the computer and use it to gather data. So you don't need a $1,400 pan tilt zoom that will record extremely low light levels and IR. If what you are is a high school wanting to tinker with tracking things that go over the school that could in fact be airplanes or other things. So you can use a less expensive pan tilt zoom, a camera that costs less than $100 and work. And the reason you can use all these different level of cameras is the way of communicating with the camera has been standardized across the entire industry. So the inexpensive cameras that you can point at whatever's moving work the same way that the expensive ones do, but the expensive ones have much fancier optics and collection elements inside the cameras. So the answer to your question is yes, schools and students can start with a computer and then add something to it, and so learn how to build their system up as they go. And we're going to have descriptions of the hardware, how to choose it. We'll have a list on Amazon that if you just want to click and buy, you can do that. And there'll be, right now, we're thinking 3 levels of entry where it's really inexpensive for people just want to try it out. And if you really get hooked, you can spend not as much as people think, but probably on the order of $1,200 to $1,500 on the high-end Cadillac version.
Really, that's not bad. That's affordable.
I agree that it's affordable, and that's really the goal. Is our labor on the software and figuring out which hardware to use is we are donating because UAPTN incorporated in the state of Texas as a nonprofit scientific research organization. None of the members of the corporation are making a salary. We're donating this because we're interested.
Okay. Now, you had mentioned that people could do this with the Raspberry Pi, and if people aren't familiar with that, that is basically a very stripped down, it's essentially just the processing system of a computer that you can kind of build for a very affordable price. I don't remember what they were the last time I looked at them, but they're almost ridiculously cheap. But do you have
they're like $40.
Yeah. Do you have to use something like that, or could you get if you're going to use something like that? Could you go to one of the big box stores and maybe get a brand new lower end computer to dedicate to something like this, or does it specifically have to be the Raspberry Pi?
It does not. That's a very good question, and I want to tell you again why it's a very good question. So you could go get a stripped-down Intel computer, and the only thing it needs on it would be several USB ports and an Ethernet port. So the Ethernet port is what the wired connection to your internet, like you see in hotel rooms and in offices, when they don't want you using wireless internet. So the Ethernet port will connect to the camera and control the camera. All the other devices will connect to the USB ports and headers that are on the Raspberry Pi. So those things that you can plug into Ethernet port and the USB port, all of the communications with them are standardized so that it doesn't matter whether you're using a Raspberry Pi or a $5,000 desktop. As long as they're running the Linux operating system, they will work.
Okay. So if I'm a teacher a science teacher at a high school and I want to do this, or maybe I have some extra money laying around and I'm just really interested in the search and what's going on with the UFO community, I go and I get a computer, whether it be a Raspberry Pi or something kind of stripped down, but just a basic computer with enough USB ports and some basic connections, and I get the software. Then what do I do?
Okay, then you grab a camera that can plug into one of these standard ports, and immediately the software will say, I see this camera, would you like for me to use it? And it'll automatically connect to the camera and immediately start recording things it finds that are interesting. Video primarily.
Okay, now what about camera quality? There are so many different megapixel sizes. Does it matter? I know that primarily they're significantly better now than they were even a year or two ago. But does the megapixel amount on the camera matter at all?
It does indeed, and I'm going to tell you why. So the lower end cameras, you're going to see extended objects that take up many pixels, primarily when they're closer to you than, say, a high-flying airplane. So for the really high-flying airplanes or things that are about the size of an airplane or to a tenth the size of an airplane, if they're several miles high, you're going to want a camera that can zoom more and has many more megapixels. But 8 megapixels to 12 megapixels on one of these high-end pan-tilt zoom cameras is nearly ideal. But the lower end, they're like 4 megapixels, and you can get really good images. But when you zoom into them, the picture is going to blur. Okay, so the higher megapixels are to prevent this blurring when you zoom in. So, but once again, computer scientists and data scientists have figured out very interesting computer algorithms that do a technique. It has a fancy name, but it's called super resolution. So you take a 4 megapixel picture or 4 megapixel video, you apply these fancy machine enabled algorithms called super resolution, and suddenly you can zoom in without seeing as much blurring as you did before these algorithms came along. And for those of you who have Nikon P900s and P1000s, you can see them do this ridiculous zoom, and they are doing super resolution with the computers they have on those cameras. But that software is available for anyone to use as long as they have a computer it will run on. And so the answer is the more megapixels, the better, but it's not required to have fun with it.
Okay. Dr. McGwier, I'm going to get you to hold on for 1 second. You timed that perfectly because it is time to step out for a quick break. So I'm going to get you to hold on, and we'll be right back on Spaced Out Radio.
Great.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans. It's John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from vans to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you addicted to the woo? Good. Me too. This is Dave Scott, and you can woo it up with me every Monday through Friday, starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, for 3 hours of great entertainment in the subjects you love. UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, intuition. Yes, we hit it all 5 days a week. Look for us at spacedoutradio.com, where together, my friends, we own the night.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines Report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, at least for now, Everett Thiemer, and I thank you for spending the night with us. Don't forget, if you've missed any part of the show, you can check out our archives for free at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. Just do us the favor and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shopping in the SOR Vault, where you need to get a Team Stump t-shirt, maybe a Team Stump hoodie too, joining the Space Travelers Club, and so much more. Now, tonight we had a little change in gears, and we are talking to Dr. Bob McGwier, who, besides being an incredibly brilliant man, and of course we kept on talking through the commercial break, but he is the president of the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Tracking Network. And what they're doing is developing a system that is affordable, that all of the components can be put together and purchased, and it'll allow anybody to scan the skies and help contribute to the search for the answer for what this aerial phenomena is. And Dr. McGwier, we were talking before the break about the cameras, and I've got a couple more questions about the cameras. You addressed the idea of the different megapixel amounts pretty well, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit, because this can run 24 hours a day. What about day versus night? Because some cameras work extremely well during the day, but when you go to use it at night, it's like just looking into a black ink.
Yep. So some of the less expensive cameras will only see bright objects at night, and it will be difficult to get kind of the full context, the full view, because the surrounding area will not be visible in the videos. So that's your very inexpensive cameras. That's just going to be a drawback. But again, you can get involved with the inexpensive cameras to decide if you want to go and purchase the more expensive cameras, which will work better at night. So the progression from low-end camera to high-end camera is all about increasing resolution, increasing dynamic range of our light scales that will work from daylight to dark. And you're going to have to pay more money for it to work 24 hours a day well.
Okay. Now, with the software, how does the software know or recognize what the object is that the camera is picking up?
Okay, so all of these cameras have motion detectors in them. So if something moves across pixels on a fixed field of view, there is a piece of coding that's inside the actual camera element hardware that says, I'm detecting constant change in what's being videoed. And the constant change will be induced by the pixels changing as things move across the screen. So that motion detection stuff is really getting good in these pan tilt zoom cameras. So, but I don't want to capture just a bug. So let's suppose the camera captures a moving bug. The other software we run will be an algorithm that identifies the kind of object it is. It will not be perfect in the beginning, but we're going to be training these algorithms as we go, and these computers that we're going to network will be available to be automatically updated when we make improvement. So these machine learning algorithms are going to be applied on these computers to take the motion detected video and say, yeah, okay, that was a moving object, but gee willikers, it was only a bumblebee, and you don't really care, so throw it away. And it will also detect, this is something I cannot identify and or is anomalous, so I'm going to save it for further analysis. So there'll be fancy software running on these computers that not only takes the motion detected video at raw, but also on the video that's been captured because of motion detection, do some classification of what is actually being seen. And this is not going to be perfect when this starts, but the way these algorithms are trained is the objects are with human input, etc., looked at and identified as either uninteresting or interesting, and the algorithms will automatically be updated, and they will learn how to tell interesting from uninteresting better over time. And so we need quite a few people in the network for this software development to occur in addition to the hardware development. So you're going to be tracking stuff that's moving from day one. Will you tell the difference between a bumblebee and a UFO on day one? Almost surely not. But we will get better with time. And so that's what people will be contributing, is our ability to get better with time.
Okay. Now, you had mentioned that with the lower megapixel cameras that there were some image enhancements in the software that could be done, or that the computer would do automatically to kind of figure out what the object is. Did I understand that right?
Yes. Okay. Yes, and you can go to Google today and download an algorithm for super resolution. And because Google has made it freely available, open source, anybody can go download it. You have to install it on your computer. So maybe Google's algorithm is not the one we will ultimately use, but it's certainly a free, open place to start. So it takes an image that was 4 megapixels and it blows it up to, say, 8 megapixels only in software. And the super resolution is done by very interesting mathematics. The kind of mathematics that's done answers the following question. If I had a high resolution image and I squashed it down and turned it into a lower resolution image, what is the most likely high resolution image that produced this blurry image? So it takes a look at the blurry image and does a prediction of what the higher resolution image would have been that made it. Is that perfect? No, it's not perfect, but you can see many examples online of, say, the Google super resolution algorithm taking a picture that was blurry and making it much clearer. And so we will be using those algorithms.
How would you respond to the detractors then who say, well, okay, here you are, you're already manipulating the image, you're adding pixels to it and potentially changing it, so how can we trust what you're giving us as data?
That's perfect. That's a great question, and thank you for you or whoever asked it. We will never only provide the processed image. The raw data will always be available. So any image that has been processed, there will be a link that you can click or automatically do by computer that will give you the raw image. So you can do your own thing or not use the processed image if you don't want to. We are totally into transparency on the data. You will never get anything from UAPTN that's processed without also being able to get the raw data.
Okay. Yeah, I thought of that question all by myself. That is the one
good for you.
That is the one good question I have, or I get to have for the night. The rest of the time, I will just open my mouth and see what falls out.
Okay.
So, okay, people or a school or a science club, they have the computer, and they have this camera. Can they add more than one camera?
Yes. So the kind of my ideal system is a good quality fisheye camera that works at low light levels and has lots of pixels, so that you get to see with this fisheye camera almost the entire sky. And so a pan-tilt zoom camera is not capable of looking at the whole sky.
Now, when
so
you
the
say,
fisheye,
I want to clear something up quickly. When you say a pan-tilt zoom camera, essentially what that is one of those, almost like those small security cameras that can be moved to follow maybe somebody if they're in the store acting suspicious and can zoom in on them, that kind of thing. It's not a big fancy technical camera. It's something that anybody can pretty much get and install.
That's correct. What we're using are security cameras. And some of them are fancy. Some of them have really, really, really good capabilities, like they can see across a dark parking lot without having to turn on lights. because they have low light level capabilities and also infrared sensitivity. So those are the more expensive cameras. But all of them all the ones we're talking about using are available on Amazon, and they are security cameras that change what they're pointing at.
Okay. So you have the fisheye camera. I'm sorry, I interrupted
Yes.
your thought there before.
The fisheye camera is kind of there's something in my sky of interest. So you take the fisheye image, you see which pixels are of interest in the fisheye, and that tells you where to point your pan tilt zoom camera. So they work together.
Now, will this happen automatically, or do you have to monitor the system at the time?
Automatic.
Okay, that's really cool. So
yeah, because we just don't want from day one to demand that people have to monitor this. It's to enable them to do the parts of this that are more fun.
And that's a big part of drawing people into some of these kind of endeavors, isn't it? Because when you look at the UFO community, so many people are either so dug deep into the research, or they're just kind of on the outside throwing stones. There is no real middle ground where people can kind of be serious about it, but have a little bit of fun and draw themselves and other people into the search.
Yes, so that's a terrific comment, and let me expand on it to make a statement. UAPTN is about acquisition of data. It's not our job to supply interpretation. Should people have questions about the images and how they're gathered, or get our input on what it is that's being shown, some of us will be happy to do that. But we are not going to be providing interpretation. We're hoping that other interested people with capabilities that none of us have are able to say, well, I see this kind of signal and that kind of signal and this kind of thing attached with this image, and all of that means, and then they supply the explanation. This is about giving people data they would not otherwise have.
Okay. So the fisheye camera picks up some movement. The pan tilt zoom camera then focuses on it. What happens next in your model?
Okay, if one or more of them are in a lower resolution mode, the pan tilt zoom will go to the highest possible resolution and capture the thing in motion. So and capture the data, and it will be stored locally on a disk drive you have connected to the computer. So once the video clip is ended, there'll be some analysis, and to this, in addition to the analysis, other instruments will be simultaneously read for temperature, air pressure, ambient light, magnetic field, compass headings, all these things that might be impacted by whatever the event is in your sky. That data will also be attached to the video. And all of that package of extra environmental data along with the video will be transmitted over the internet when the internet is available to a storage facility that we will make available so that analysis can be done on the video along with all that data, and all that data will be public. But in addition to that data being public, we are going to be using the data to make our algorithms work better by training them how to work better.
One of the things that you mentioned, I just heard it, and it kind of slipped in there, is that you're going to be taking air pressure and temperature readings as the event is taking place?
As the event is happening. Is when we've triggered an event, whether it's so a video may not do it. So maybe maybe it's a magnetic pulse that's really anomalous. And so we'll trigger the event, and if there's not something obvious, we will just keep the fisheye camera running and try capture all the other data because whatever the event is might be invisible, and it may become visible. And I'm going to give you a couple of the influences that brought us to this decision. Regularly, Chris Bledsoe sees events where something pops like a flashbulb, and then more interesting things happen. And in addition to that, MJ Benias, when he went to Skinwalker Ranch, he talked to the owners about their current equipment, and he took enough pictures that I was able to easily identify most of the equipment. And they talked about having radios look at the RF environment, and when something anomalous was about to happen, they could see a pulse, a wideband pulse in the radio spectrum. So those kinds of things, they didn't have a video until the pulse happened, and then they would look at their cameras to see if they could see something, identify the location of the anomaly. But first they saw these radio pulses. And that's like new information that's come from the current owner of Skinwalker Ranch and the equipment he's put up. So that was a terrific thing that we learned from MJ Benias' article.
Okay. Now, are you to collect this data, this weather and environmental data, will there be like a small little weather station, or how is that data going to be collected? And also, will you be collecting these the data regarding these radio pulses, and how would that be collected?
That's very good questions. So there are inexpensive former cable television tuner radios that are available in a little dongle. You plug into a USB port on your computer, and they are called RTL SDR. So the SDR stands for Software Defined Radio. So the frequency that's being listened to is turned into digital data, flows into the USB port, and the tuning and detection and other things that are being done on that radio signal is done by software inside your computer. So there's a tunable radio that you can plug in to a USB port on your computer. And it has an antenna jack on it that you can hook an antenna so that the antenna can receive the radio signals. And these things, they cost $35 to $45. They're really inexpensive, and they cover from right above the shortwave band all the way through several microwave bands. So these are very, very interesting devices. They're inexpensive, and they're nearly ideal for the kind of experimental radio work that we're talking about. And from what I can gather in the limited available information in the article, these electromagnetic pulses are large enough that this inexpensive radio would be sensitive enough to detect their existence. So that would trigger an event. Okay, that's the radio. Inexpensive radio called RTL SDR. You can order one for a few tens of dollars from Amazon. Plug it into your USB computer, find some open source available software defined radio to do your own experiments, or we will supply the software defined radio software to run that thing to do the the electromagnetic pulse detection. Okay, so that's radio. And the other thing, we're using what's called a WIT motion, WITMOTION, WIT motion sensor, and it has magnetometer, accelerometer, pressure, temperature, etc. on this sensor. And it's in a weatherproof package. And again, it has it's available adapter to hook into this WIT motion device, and you plug it into your USB port, and your computer can automatically gather the ambient environmental data from all sorts of sensors on this WIT motion device. And it's reasonably inexpensive. I think it's still $60 for this WIT motion device, or thereabouts. Don't hold me to that. But again, UAPTN, after it tests and builds the software to use all these different devices and makes the software freely available, we're going to have a list, UAPTN equipment list on Amazon, so you can just click and buy and make it easy. And you don't have to buy it from Amazon. You can buy it from whoever you want to, because you'll have more than enough information to figure out what the device is and order it from whatever company you want to order it from. We're trying to make it easy by making a list on Amazon.
Right. Regarding the weather sensors, though, what if there is some sort of change in pressure or quick change in temperature, but nothing on video? Will it still record that event happened, or will that
we're going to have anomaly detection on every sensor, and so we're going to learn the right thresholds and the right signatures of the signals that we need to trigger on. So I'm not going to claim on day one that we know all the right signatures for these signals coming from these different sensors, but we're going to learn. So obvious things are large accelerations, large shocks, large electromagnetic pulses, so forth, and you can use things that are as inexpensive as this WIT motion up to a $300 weather station that's become available that has no moving parts. It also has a lightning detector, which will be the primary electromagnetic pulse detector and other things in it. But all of this equipment will be talked about, instruction manuals, instruction videos, all that stuff. We're preparing all of that.
Okay. Is it common for, if there's an object flying across the sky at, say, 5, 10, 20,000 feet, would I expect to have some sort of weather anomaly somewhere near my house? Or that seems like it's such a far distance to expect maybe any kind of minor temperature change, but I could see collecting the data just to understand the phenomena a little bit more. What's the purpose behind collecting the weather data?
Okay, so the weather data is in case there are unexpected anomalies associated with a moving object. So it's the unexpected, the anomalous occurrence that we're trying to associate with something that might be identified as in the phenomenon. So in addition to video, a lot of these cameras have microphones. So if a jet goes over 20,000, 30,000 feet, you can hear them on the ground. And so some of these things that people are associating with, I think that's weird. They don't make much sound or any at all. Or if they do make an anomalous sound and it has some kind of weird signature, we might want to identify that as a trigger event. But so I think it's important. Okay, so let me give you two more sensors that let you know how completely thorough we're trying to be. A lot of people don't realize there's freely, openly available software that will run on the Raspberry Pi that'll download from NORAD the orbital elements of every satellite in orbit. So on the little Raspberry...
Dr. McGwier, before you start to explain these sensors to us, we have to step out for yet another break. That went quick. So if I can get you to hold on for just a couple of minutes, and when we come back, I'll have you explain these sensors to me, because this really sounds... I'm getting more and more interested in working with this the more you talk. So when we come back, I'd like you to explain those two sensors. We will be right back. We'll be right back on Spaced Out Radio.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is watching.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report. Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I'm bringing you the Woo every Monday through Friday on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going all out to bring you the strangest, oddest stories and subjects I could find for your entertainment. Why? Because when we hit peak Woo, I know I've done my job. So come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com, 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, and together, my friends, we own the night.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host for now, Everett Thiemer, and thank you for sticking around with us. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, KDNF, AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas, KDUN, AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, KZFX, 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, WQEE, 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, and UPRN, 107.7 FM in New Orleans. For our digital listeners, we are on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. And don't forget, you can check out our archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do us the favor and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shopping in the Spaced Out Radio store, and reading up on Captain Shirk's Newswire. And there's so many cool features there. And the Space Travelers Club. For $5 a month, come and hear the Ire Report, or the Ire Perspective. Kelly's going to be mad at me for mispronouncing it, but he does a fantastic job in there. There's forums you can throw your thoughts in on, and there's so much fun there. And hop over to the website and get a Team Stump t-shirt. I'm not pushing Team Stump or anything, but go get a Team Stump t-shirt. Now, before the break, we were talking to Dr. Bob McGwier about and the more we talk about it, the more I get fascinated by it, but it's the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Tracking Network. And what they're doing is creating essentially a small station that almost any group or club or even an individual person, if you're really dedicated to the search, can put together that will allow you to scan the skies and help contribute to the search for the answers we're all looking for what's up in the skies. Now, Dr. McGwier, before the break, you just started to touch on a couple of additional sensors that this unit has, and I'd like you to take a couple minutes and explain those, because we've talked about tracking or monitoring the weather. We've talked about radio signals and monitoring for sort of radio bursts. And we've talked about scanning the skies with cameras. What else can you monitor for? Think we're going to have to call Dr. McGwier back. It looks like maybe he whoops. Let's see if he'll answer. That's good, because you scared me there for a second.
Yeah, I don't know why it dropped, but it just...
And there it is again. Let's see if we can fix that. You know, every now and then with Skype, they have to throw a loop into things. And, well, we had really good luck with them for the longest time. Hold on 1 second. Let's try this one more time. Not that I want you to hear the Skype tones. Hello. Sorry, I'm here. I had to mute you for a second. I was trying to, keep those tones and ringing from going out over the air, but I was not that successful. I'm sure the listeners will forgive me. I'll probably get hundreds of emails today about that. But anyway, before the break, we were talking about a couple of additional sensors and monitors that this has. Can you go on and explain those? Because when you talk about scanning the skies optically, you're already monitoring for radio bursts, and you're also tracking the weather. What else can be tracked?
Okay, so the North American Defense Command, NORAD, maintains lists of satellite orbits for every satellite that's in orbit around the Earth, up to a certain distance out and down to a certain size. So that list of satellite orbits is freely available to the public. And there's freely available software for nothing that you can, called G-Predict, that you can run on your Raspberry Pi or other computer like it and predict the location of all satellites that are flying over your head at any moment. Now, what is that? Why is that? Why is that interesting? I can eliminate satellites that are reflecting sunlight. So if I see an object, I can say, this is not a satellite that's in the North American NORAD database. If it is one, it's probably a military or a spy satellite. But I will eliminate all those that are published orbital elements for and eliminate them from collection. So that's number one. Number two, every commercially operated airplane in the world is now required to emit a radio signal called ADSB that says, here's my tail number, here's my altitude, here's my speed, and here's the direction I'm going. And that's freely available, transmitted in the clear over the air. And one of those little RTL SDR dongles I talked about before, you plug into a USB port on the side of your computer, you hook an antenna to it, and it can hear every one of those airplanes flying over your head. So we can eliminate an object that is at a known position in the air. I'm sorry, in addition to the things I said before, it gives you the latitude and longitude. So you know the height, latitude, longitude, speed, direction, and tail number of an airplane. So you can eliminate it as being the thing you're looking at. And all this is freely available, free software to run these ADSB receivers, and you too can find airplanes flying over your head every day. And so you can eliminate it from going into the unidentified database because it's not unidentified. We know what it is.
How does Elon Musk's plan to launch all of these microsatellites disrupt or fit into what you're doing with trying to track?
Okay, so every single one of those satellites has its own set of orbital elements that are published by NORAD. And those, as long as you can hook up to the internet, you can download the latest set of data that allow you to track all 20,000 of Elon Musk's satellites and say, that thing you're looking at, it's one of Musk's satellites, and I'm not interested. Or you may, in fact, be interested, and you can collect it. So, and the other thing is, Musk and Glenn Shotwell are guaranteeing that they are going to make their satellites albedo, or their ability to reflect sunlight, small enough that it will not impact most astronomy. So the kind of things we're looking at, we wouldn't see them anyway, because they're painting them darker so they don't reflect as much light off from the sun. So Musk is an issue now because they had an unexpected amount of reflectivity, but they're already working to reduce the amount of reflectivity, and we probably won't even see them.
Okay, that's good to know, because that, with the amount of satellites that he's launching, that could potentially lead to a lot of people initially maybe experiencing some misidentification.
It's already happened. People have already called that says, I see a string of UFOs flying over my house, and it was only unidentified to them because it was Elon Musk's satellites.
Yeah, don't they rise in altitude over the course of a couple of days or so? That once they're launched,
it's not a couple of days. it takes time, but they go from 300-ish to 500-ish kilometers, and that's a lot further away in terms of reflected light. So they're going to get dimmer and dimmer as they go further out. But when they're low, before they've started using their fancy propulsion to move them higher, they're visible if your sky is dark, but the sun still illuminates the satellite, you can see a reflection. But as they go higher and higher, it gets much dimmer. And in addition to it getting higher and dimmer, they're going to paint it differently so it doesn't reflect much.
Okay. That's probably a good thing.
Oh, great thing.
So now you've collected all this data, and it's on this computer, and it's on a hard drive. What's the goal next? Where does it automatically get sent somewhere? Can people store it, and then when they want to hook up their computer to the internet, they can upload it to the cloud, or what's the path with that?
Okay, so you if you have a 7 days a week, 24-hour-a-day internet connection, it'll automatically go to the storage facility in the cloud where we're going to store all the data to make it available to everyone, including ourselves, for us to do analysis and training of software. So you can do that. But in addition to that, we're going to have a hard drive, as I said, on this computer, and while you are not connected, it will store the data until the hard drive fills up. It's best if you have an immediate connection and can send the data immediately, but that's not required. You can hook up to the internet later, and it'll automatically says, I have 100 things that I have not yet transmitted to the cloud. Now that I'm hooked up, may I have permission to transmit? And you can choose to do that automatically or when you allow it.
Okay. How many, and I know that this is would be a broad guess for you, but if somebody sets one of these things up, how many events over the course of a day would you think that they might capture?
Okay, so I'm expecting in the early days for it to capture things we don't really care about. Airplanes that aren't behaving slightly differently than normal or whatever, or birds or things that we need to learn how to eliminate. I'm expecting those things to happen. But in the early days, we have talked to and gotten permission from people who are currently observing regular unidentified things. I'll drop a name. We've been invited by Melinda Leslie to go to her place and go on one of her events where we can record the anomalies. She seems to be able to beckon for all of her tour groups. So we're going to go places where we know there are things like the ECETI place up in Oregon, or Melinda Leslie in Arizona, or near Bledsoe in North Carolina, and we're going to collect data that we are going to be reasonably certain are something the community will be interested in. But in addition to that, if people are just out in the middle of nowhere, an airplane flying over may or may not trigger it. And again, I'm not expecting this to be perfect the day we let it out the door. We're going to have to take the occasional airplane detected where we didn't want an airplane in order to learn in our software how not to collect airplanes.
Right, but the more people who get involved and collect, even if it is a misidentification, the more that you collect of those, the faster and the better you can learn to eliminate those as a target worthy of tracking, right?
All this machine learning stuff is only better with more data, and that's how you do it. Every piece of new data comes in and helps the algorithm get better.
Are there any plans to, excuse me, it's been one of those days. Are there any plans to integrate something like radar in this? Because I know that there are several people out there who are kind of developing almost a low power, I hate to use the term backyard radar because that kind of trivializes it, but they're developing these systems where maybe anybody can have a sort of a radar system to sort of track what's in the sky and look for anomalous objects. Do you know anything about do you know anything about the development of that, and will it be integrated into what you're working with or what you're doing?
Okay. So in addition to my being a mathematician and an engineer and a professor at Virginia Tech, since I was before I was a teenager, I became an amateur radio operator. So an amateur radio operator can transmit signals on certain frequencies at any time for nearly any purpose with some restrictions. So if you are an amateur radio operator, you can legally transmit a signal in the amateur radio bands, probably one type only, but a very widely known type of signal that can act as a radar. And so but again, I want to emphasize, you can only do that in a band that's licensed to amateur radio operators. And if you try to emit a radar signal of enough power to, say, bounce off an airplane flying at 30,000 feet, and you do it without a FCC or Canadian regulatory license or et cetera, you're going to get in trouble because you're transmitting illegally. So these kinds of radars, you are required to have a license. So I can see those people who are interested in unidentified or aerial phenomenon who are also legally licensed to transmit will be able to transmit something like a radar waveform. Now, there is a more complicated alternative. The more complicated alternative is if you live near a city that has several different high-powered transmitters like television stations or FM broadcast stations, you can put up an antenna that will listen to signals that come from those high-powered television and radio stations and bounce off aerial vehicles and arrive at your location. And this is called bistatic radar. So I've done that. I know how to do it, but it's not likely to be in early versions of this. I would like to support amateur radio operators who want to emit chirped waveforms or chirp radar signals to be able to track things using these radar signals. Because I've bounced signals off airplanes using microwave gear for long distance communications, and it will work. So it's a nuanced answer. You can't transmit these kind of signals with enough power to do anything really useful without a license.
Okay, and the amateur radio license is much easier to get now that they've eliminated the Morse code requirement.
That's correct. And so in the United States in particular, the entry-level license will give you enough, which is called a technician license, will give you enough interesting bands that you could do some kind of radar work completely legally. And the nice thing about the Federal Communications Commission's tests these days for amateur radio is the questions and answers are published. So it's an encouragement of people for people to get involved and learn by doing, in addition to just memorizing enough questions and answers to pass a test.
Okay.
So it's a hurdle.
Okay. When if somebody were to do this, do you have plans, or does that data help you in any way, or how do you collect that? Is there another program that collects that, or how does that work?
Yes. So again, you will have to have a piece of software that runs on your computer that turns on and off the transmitter and receiver to transmit the signal you want to bounce off and receive the return. So at Virginia Tech, I ran a development for several students working on their PhDs and masters that developed one of these chirped radars, and we used it to bounce signals off the ionosphere to map the ionosphere during the solar eclipse in 2018, and it worked really well. So this is something we have experience with, and the software exists already. So it would be put it on the new device, hook up the right kind of equipment, and we can bounce signals off of moving objects. But so in addition to that, you want not just to have the time the pulse travels to the object and returns. You ought to want to look at the change in frequency that happens when this radio wave hits a moving object, because not only do you get position and distance, you also get velocity because of the change in frequency that's due to hitting a moving object.
Okay. Now, one thing I want to ask is, you mentioned that there's another piece of software. All of these different pieces of the software, as they're available and developed, you're basically giving them away, aren't you?
Totally free and open source. So the thing that we are imagining happening is over time, either the Raspberry Pi and the Raspberry Pi 6 get a whole lot better, or you're going to need more than one of them. And these pieces of software, we're going to figure out how many pieces of computing are required. But all the software for this is freely open, freely available. You can download a program and just run it, or you can download the source code and learn from it. UAPTN is a scientific research and education organization, and the software that we make available, open and free, is for people to learn.
Now, this runs on Linux, though, correct?
It does run on Linux, because that's kind of the best development environment. But Raspberry, your phone, your Android phones are running Linux, and these Raspberry Pis, the Linux is freely available. You download it onto a little camera card, plug it into the side, and its operating system is up and running. We have detailed instructions on how to do it, and it is not hard.
Yes, it's not something anybody needs to be afraid of, and in some respects, once you use it, depending on what you're trying to do, once you get started with it, it's a very easy operating system to kind of use and understand compared to...
It is. It's minimalist. It's very minimalist, and there'll be instructions for how to get started, and after that, our software system will notify or automatically update and change the software on your device once we've been granted permission by the user. They can do it manually, or we can do it automatically, and that will be up to the individual user.
Right, and it does not break your computer or destroy anything. It's one of the simplest and like you said, the most minimalist operating systems out there, and it runs almost seamlessly. So
it's very sweet. So I have one Raspberry Pi that collected data from my Davis weather station, which ran for 3 years without me having to touch it.
Well, look at this. Just during this interview, I've had to fiddle with my operating system 2 times, just to So, you know what? It's time, Dr. McGwier, to step out for another break. And when we get back, I'd like to finish up with this and kind of talk to you about what you're going to do and what the goal is with all of this collected data. And then I'd like to switch gears a little bit, because you are the chief scientist at the Hume Center for National Security and Technology, and you guys are doing some very interesting and fascinating and really good work over there. So if you could hold on for just 1 second, we're going to step out for a break on Spaced Out Radio.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for something new to push your limits? Look Beyond the Spectrum, a new docu-series featuring some of the best researchers in the world when it comes to everything from UFOs, government cover-ups, and strange humanoids. Truth seekers Stephen Bassett, Jeff Meldrum, Jack Kasher, and Stanton Friedman, among others, all chip in to bring their knowledge to you. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon as well as Tubi TV. Tell us what you think on our Amazon page.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines Report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Everett Thiemer. I'm filling in while Dave's at UFOCon 2020, where he's given some fantastic speeches and seems to be having a lot of fun. I thank you for spending your evening with us. Don't forget, if you've missed any part of the show, you can check out our archives for free at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. Just do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shopping in the SOR Vault, joining the Space Travelers Club, and so much more. Now, tonight, we are talking to Dr. Bob McGwier, and he is the president of the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Tracking Network. And they have developed, or are in the process of developing, a really cool system that's going to help get everybody involved in tracking what's going on over the skies. And Dr. McGwier, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on tonight, especially since you are at UFOCon 2020, and I know that there are some other things that you could be out there enjoying in the streets of San Francisco, as the old TV show used to be called.
Happy to do it.
Now, we've been talking a lot about the process and the equipment to collect this data. I kind of want to dig in a little bit here. What happens once the data has been collected?
Okay, so we're going to do some level of analysis on the data that's been collected. So I and another person in the team, Steve McDaniel, we are affiliate members of the Scientific Coalition for Ufology, SCU, which people can find out about at explorescu.org. And this is where scientists, engineers, technicians, and other people can publish technical papers about the efforts they are undertaking in the study of the phenomenon. So we are presenting our first technical offering at the Explore SCU conference that's in Huntsville, Alabama, near the Marshall Space Flight Center this year at their annual convention. So we're doing a stand-up session about the hardware and software we're doing. So in the following years, in both this conference, the Explore SCU, and any others, we will be presenting papers that are an analysis of the data we have collected. Principally, the statistical data, which are the frequency of identification of anomalous aerial vehicle, the locations, what other environmental factors we notice, and this is principally we're interested in finding out what that data tells us, but we also want to go to these conferences where other people of like mind might have ideas about interpretation of this data that we do not have the capability or the interest in providing. But they will have the data that we've gathered available to them. So this is also advertising for other people to take our data and work with it. So we're going to make the data widely available. We'll do some level of analysis, mostly statistical, and make the data widely available by going to technical conferences where this kind of data is discussed and made available.
And one thing that's important to note is that this is it's not going to be a government-sponsored repository for the data. It's not going to be tied to any branch of the government. It is simply going to be an open database where people can draw the information, look at it, analyze it in their own way, and draw their own conclusions, right?
That is correct. So the data, both the raw data and any processed data, will always be available. And any processed data will identify the raw data set it was derived from. So we're going to make it's just like complete transparency and openly available data.
Do you have any checks in place for the people who maybe want to interrupt the system? And let's say they get some of the data and they tinker with it and they come back and sort of upload, or I'm not exactly sure how it would work, but what if they change the data or tinker with it and try and say, you know what, no, this isn't that, you guys are all wrong, and here's why. Do you have anything to kind of prevent that?
Yeah, we do. So the way this works is the individual systems will be given an identification code so that anytime that system transmits data to our database, there will be multiple layers of protection. So the validity, the verification of the user, and other things will be attached and assured to the data that we accept into our systems. So that's, once the data is collected, we're keeping track of who sent it and if it's been messed with. So if there are unusual characteristics that are in the data, which even from a verified and identified system that we believe are anomalous, there will be triggers that say this data looks anomalous. We're going to hold it on the side so that you can inform the user that there's something wrong with their system, or you have detected something wrong with the data coming from their system, and have an interaction with them. So determine the data's complete provenance and heritage. So everything about the data is going to be tested constantly to try and prevent this kind of thing from happening. And in our own system, the only processed data that will be made available are the processed data that we process internally. So processed data from our raw and processed data that others do for their own personal work, they will have to work out with us the trusted mechanism for us also supplying this data to others. Otherwise, they can take their processed data and make it available on their own systems. So we're going to continue to be extremely vigilant about the owner, of the data, what was done to the data, how it's collected, including the name of all of the sensors that are in the little computer that will be supplying the data. Because we might learn that we may have recommended this $60 camera, and it turns out it has a really bad problem, and the only thing we're getting from that kind of camera is useless data. So you want to be constantly vigilant about maintaining integrity in your data. Otherwise, it's useless, and you can't really draw any good inference from it at all.
Okay. If somebody doesn't have one of these systems set up, or they're not part of an organization or a club that is maybe trying to do this along with you, is there any value in coming to the website or coming to the database and downloading or looking at some of the information that people have collected? And can they have any input on that?
They absolutely can download the data and use it for whatever they wish. So this includes providing their own analysis. Maybe they can't collect data because they don't have a way to easily get the data collected at their particular location. Like they're on the 20th floor of an apartment building in New York or Chicago, and they can't put a sensor out to collect useful data, but they still want to participate. They will be able to download the data and do analysis, or I am absolutely convinced that after we identify interesting pieces of data and we upload it to our YouTube channel, that people are going to look at it.
Okay, I don't know. The idea of uploading something like that to the YouTube channels, I don't want to say it makes me a little nervous. I think it opens it up for some interesting debate. But what is the plan for the data ultimately? Do you guys it's literally make it available for others to do analysis. That is both the short and long-term plan, because right now we do not want to be, because look, you understand as well as anyone that the ufology community is
divided into 25 different splinters. If we start interpreting data that supports one of these factions over another, we're exacerbating and becoming involved in a war that we have no interest in being involved in. We want to collect data for any group to do an analysis, any group or individual to do analysis on.
How many of these units do you call it a unit or a device, or what do you call
Let's call it a unit.
Okay. How many of these units do you have out there now, and how many do you think that, or how many are you hoping to have out in, say, the next year?
So right now there are 5 because the software is not distributed and the hardware is not yet recommended because we're still doing development. But we are about to release version 1 of the software and version 1 of prototype hardware while we do some testing. And we're going to put a ton of caveat and weasel words about this is early and some of this might be wrong and we're learning as we're going. And we'd love for you to be involved, but you got to understand this is research and development. And so, but hopefully we have hundreds, and we are not looking only for the United States and Canada. We have a member of the corporation who is a person in England who is involved in ufology in England. His name is Rob Dennis, and he's doing a lot of our website and forum work. And he's not the first person outside the U.S. we want involved. We want people from everywhere to take this and be involved and contribute to the data and contribute their own analysis on the data.
I think this is going to be a fascinating project. It's going to be fun or interesting. I guess fun is sort of the wrong word. It's going to be fascinating and interesting to watch it develop. I think that you have the opportunity not only to collect data on the phenomena, but also to maybe make some insights into the equipment that applies beyond just this field. And I think that that could potentially be just as big as the UFO UAP collection aspect of this in the long run.
Yes. So the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies is a very good group that started because people needed a place to go and talk about their research, talk about their development, and find like-minded people to provide critique and support, etc. And so we're trying to build the community of people who want to collect data but don't want to spend $1 million or can't be involved with the university, but they can take equipment that they can purchase out of their hobby budget, if you will, and do something interesting with it. And we're hoping that they get regular feedback from the stuff they've done that allows them to maintain their interest in providing this data. So it's multifaceted in that we want them to learn to tinker with do-it-yourself hardware, assembly, installing software we provide with lots and lots of instructional and help materials to make it nearly seamless to put all this together and use it. But in addition to that, to provide data for others who have technical capabilities of doing analysis. And the greatest possible outcome would be for us all together to determine a common characteristic of the phenomenon that we never before knew was there. We determine something new. And if we don't ever determine anything new, I will be deeply disappointed. But the facts in my mind are, just look at, let's just say, astronomy. Every time astronomy has put up a major new instrument, it's determined all sorts of new things that have utterly changed our view of the universe we live in. Now, these things are not going to be as magnanimous as huge as the Hubble Space Telescope, but in fact, there are no widely available things like this that are being used all over the place. there are groups that have come before us, most notably UFO have similar equipment to this, and for whatever reason, it's just kind of not taken off to the extent that I would have hoped it would have. And MUFON has people that are providing equipment that's mostly looking for electromagnetic field anomalies in order to identify something anomalous. So we decided, what did these two groups do right? What did these two groups do wrong? What have they done that we can add to or learn from? And that's what we're doing. So we're bringing hardware, software, user, legal, etc. People together in order to make this, turn this into an active corporation that's constituted, started for the purpose of scientific exploration, research and development of instrumentalities and data gathering capability for this particular area, with no interest at all in anybody making money or earning a profit.
I want to switch gears just a little bit here, because Tripp brings up an interesting question, and I just did it. I called them UFOs, and some people call them UAPs. What is your thought on that and the whole change in term?
Okay, so my belief is that sometime a while ago, in order to aid prevention of successful FOIA requests and the connotations of working with nut jobs, if you named it UFO, the government changed it internally to UAPs because that seems to be more acceptable. So between the ages of 10 years old and 19 years old, I saw multiple UFOs when I was outside in the yard with my telescope looking at the sky. I didn't make a big deal out of it. It was just there, and I am now just absolutely certain that these were crafts of unknown origin. Their behavior was weird. It was non-ballistic, and I saw multiple of them while I was outside with my telescope hanging out in my yard all night long. So I saw these things, and then when the government and other people became super interested and were publicly saying in newspapers, on television and print and organizationally that they were studying the phenomenon and they called them UAPs, I just adopted the UAP. And this group, SCU, has UAP in its title, so it just seems easiest. Maybe it's cowardly, but look, it's the easiest to say what other people are saying and fit in so you're seen as supportive and not trying to be controversial. But look, to me, UFO or UAP are interchangeable.
Good, because I go back and forth. I mean, I grew up with UFO, and then they go and change everything up on me, and it confuses me sometimes. And it's a force of habit, too. So many of us have said UFO for more years than maybe we'd like to admit, that to all of a sudden change them, it's difficult to all of a sudden just easily switch to that. But what you mentioned something there, and I want to ask you this. Does this mean then that maybe if I'm submitting a FOIA request and I'm maybe looking at a specific case and I call or I write out UFO or unidentified flying object, does that automatically mean that anything that has been labeled UAP will miss the scope of my FOIA request?
That is nearly certain in my own mind, because as you probably have learned recently, given John Greenwald's example and his public statements, he's learned from a successful FOI request that there was a celebration at a previous FOI request of his failing. And they had a celebration, and it was mentioned in several contexts in searchable media and federal documents that he received, that the Navy, or I can't remember the entity, but let's just say Navy, but I mean government in general, in the Pentagon were laughing at John for failing his FOIA. They don't love these FOIA requests. And anytime you are not specific enough and on target with your request, it's going to be denied.
Yeah, I can see that. I think that makes sense. Before we kind of finish up on this topic and go to break, and when we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Hume Center for National Security and Technology. But before we go to break, I'd like to ask you, you are one of the few people in the community who truly have both a scientific and academic background. You are truly a member of those communities. How have those communities reacted to your interest in this and your development of this project?
Okay, so far, look, I'm going to retire from Virginia Tech as a full-time faculty member in May of this year. I've reached the age, et cetera, and I'm going to stay adjunct. So far, no one's mentioned anything about it, and multiple people know of my interest. On the other hand, I will not name the entity, but I asked, could I work on a particular problem under the umbrella of that entity, and I was told, we are not interested in your involvement here, and it was due to my interest in this phenomenon, because I was publicly making my interest in it public, and I was denied involvement because they didn't want anybody involved who believed that there might be something to UAP, even though you have Chris Mellon, Lou Elizondo, Jim Simivan, Steve Justice, etc., big names in the military industrial intelligence complex who are now openly involved. They didn't want anybody involved, so I was denied access to this entity, which I will not name. Okay, so it's had a personal cost, but to me personally, it was not that big a deal. I was disappointed that I did not get to work on the problem I wanted to work on, but I feel I have not been harmed in any major way, and I will not cry over not having that opportunity, even though I felt I could have done good for the government, which I have supported for years with my technical capabilities. So it's had some cost, but people are completely aware at Virginia Tech that I have offered to write a white paper to aid Christopher Mellon in getting his vision for using all of the sensors that are available to us to study the phenomena. They are aware of it. So, because I'm not going to hide it. I'm just not going to. And whatever the costs are, they're the costs. I'm lucky enough that I started 2 companies, and the companies have done well. And so financially, I won't be hurt by this. And personally, I have a self-assured from being successful at what I do, kind of a feeling about myself that I'm not really worried whether they like it or not. So don't want to say that I'm luckier than everyone else, but I do feel extraordinarily lucky that my life has led me to be able to do this kind of work. I have a broad collection of both interests and experience that have allowed me to do this, and I have not suffered any major consequences yet.
Well, that's good for you, and I'm glad. I just hope the stigma changes, because I think that one of the things the UFO community is lacking is some serious academic people, and I think that would be an asset to the community. But with that,
so I just wanted I want to say that in SCU there are people that are members of public supported universities from all over the country and the world that are involved in SCU, and I'm talking about tenure track professors that are at research universities in the United States and elsewhere. So I do believe this is changing.
Okay, that's good news, and that paints a brighter picture for the future. With that, Dr. McGwier, we're going to step out for a quick break, and when we come back, I want to talk to you now about the Hume Center for National Security and Technology. We'll switch gears a little bit here because you are doing some fascinating and really good work with that, not just with research, but with education, too. So we'll be right back on Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I'm bringing you the Woo every Monday through Friday on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going all out to bring you the strangest, oddest stories and subjects I could find for your entertainment. Why? Because when we hit peak Woo, I know I've done my job. So come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com, 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, and together, my friends, we own the night.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thaw. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. I'm Everett Thiemer, and I'm sitting in for Dave Scott this week while he's at UFOCon 2020. And coincidentally, we have one of the other guests of UFOCon 2020 here, and you know, he's let us know that Dave's been good. He hasn't misbehaved to any at all yet, but we know he's doing good. So we welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates: KDNF AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, and UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. For our digital listeners, we are on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. And don't forget, you can check out our archives for free at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. Just do us the favor and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shopping at the Spaced Out Radio Vault, reading up on the SOR Newswire, and so much more. Now, tonight, we've been talking to Dr. Bob McGwier, and he is the president of the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Technology Network, Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Tracking Network. We were talking technology and stuff during the break, and just like UFO, UAP, the word got stuck in my head. And they are putting the groundwork down for some really great work. And it's been a fascinating discussion, Dr. McGwier. But I want to shift gears a little bit here and talk about the Hume Center for National Security and Technology, because you're the chief scientist there, and there's a lot going on there, and you're actually lowering student debt for college kids, and making it so that they can go out and work more in the public sector and do what they want versus what they have to do to pay their bills, correct?
That is indeed part of our mission. So Ted Hume worked for the United States government at a very senior level in the intelligence community, and he saw that there was a serious need for science, technology, engineering, and math students to be able to enter these public sector jobs or corporations that serve the U.S. government needs jobs, but in the defense and intelligence community areas. So Ted saw a need. He had retired from a company he founded and sold his interest in the company to Kinetic. And from the proceeds of the sale of his company, he endowed the Hume Center for National Security and Technology at the Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, Virginia, in 2010. So the Hume Center for National Security and Technology in Blacksburg, Virginia, at Virginia Tech had its first president was Charles Clancy, and I became the director of research and then the chief scientist. Charles was principally in Arlington, and I was principally in Blacksburg, and we began growing the center's activities. And the center's activities was to do good research for the communities that we were targeting to place students. But in order to do research for this community, they had to support the education of a student at the graduate level and the undergraduate level. And so over time, we built out our capabilities to take students as our primary product. Our primary product is not a research paper. Our primary product is the student. So we want to take these students and involve them in research and development that is useful to the United States government in the areas of defense and intelligence, and not require that they go to work in that area, but allow them to understand what the work in the defense and intelligence community is like and what they might contribute. And at the same time, for the best of them, they get support so that they leave school with a degree in science, technology, engineering, or math and not have a load of debt, that they need to go to a high-paying job that they don't really want necessarily in order to work in that field. So we wanted them to be able to choose working for the government or one of its supporting corporations. And we found that model has been quite successful. We now have over 400 undergraduates that are involved in experiential learning. By that I mean they are involved in research projects that are targeted towards meeting some need of either a company or a government entity while they're going to school. So they get some tuition paid for and other living expenses paid for if they have a Hume Fellowship or a scholarship. And this aids us in attracting talent to go into these fields where otherwise they might feel the need to take out large loans to go to school and thereby having to be forced to, for economic reasons, go into a high-paying job that they didn't necessarily want to do. So that was the goal, and it turns out to have been successful. I have personally lots of graduate students that have gotten PhDs and masters, and lots of undergraduates had all sorts of experience where they have left and gone to work for people that sponsor us. We have all sorts of commercial, government, etc., work and sponsors for our students, and it has turned out to work fairly well. It's 11 years old now, and it's done very well. And as the last major thing that the Hume Center has done before I retire is it's begun what's called the Commonwealth Cyber Initiative. And the Commonwealth Cyber Initiative is the Commonwealth of Virginia has stood up a research program where Virginia Tech played a very large role in bringing it into existence to do work in the areas of cybersecurity and information technology, where we're going to build out a 5G test bed and otherwise study cybersecurity needs and help produce trainers who are qualified to train from both a degree perspective and experience perspective to people that will be available to train people who are needed to fulfill the 45,000 unfilled cybersecurity jobs in the Commonwealth of Virginia alone. Now, Virginia Tech's proximity to Washington, D.C., where multiple interesting agencies, et cetera, are in the state of Virginia, has led to a high demand for people who have these cybersecurity capabilities. But we need to do this to fill a serious need in our area. And not filling that need means that the cybersecurity needs for companies and government entities are not being met, and so the work can't be done in Virginia. So this is filling a serious need, and the state has stepped up and supported it, including the Virginia Tech was largely involved in a lot of the early technology research in 4G and now 5G. Personally, I was involved in the starting of a company called Federated Wireless, which is bringing 5G technology in a new cellular telephone band that has now just been made available in the United States from the Federal Communications Commission. So
can we stop?
Sure.
Can we talk about 5G for a minute? Because
sure.
That is one of those things, and I'm not qualified to understand this stuff. But one of the many arguments that is made is that 5G is basically going to cook us from the inside, as if we're sitting in a microwave spinning around on a turntable. Why do people come to that conclusion, and how is it so much different from? And first of all, the G does not refer to like gigabytes or anything like that. The G refers to generation. So I remember my first phone, I think, was 2G, and it was a big deal when we went to 3G. How is 5G any different than any of the other generations, and why do people have that fear about it?
Okay, so the 5G and 4G, those are different protocols and waveforms to transmit your digital data from your wireless device into the ecosystem supported by the internet, etc. So those are protocols and waveforms to transmit your data. So 5G and 4G have peripheral and tangential involvement in what frequencies are used. So they are protocols and waveforms. Now, in each individual country, whether it's the United States or Canada or European or Japanese or et cetera, they choose which frequencies will be used by 4G and 5G enabled equipment. 5G is a set of papers which describe, based on committees that are involving people all over the world, to recommend how these new systems will operate. So 5G is taking what has been learned with 4G and adding things to it that would make it capable of transmitting lots more data. And that's because the use of wireless devices is absolutely exploding. It's exploding faster than anyone ever thought it would be. And so what is needed is the information carrying capacity that does not exist in current 4G systems. So where does this information capacity come from? The information carrying capacity comes from adding new frequencies that will have these wireless and cellular these telecommunications signals so that this information capacity increases. So the susceptibility of damage to the human body by microwave and millimeter wave radio frequency signals at the levels emitted by handheld wireless devices and other wireless devices in the home and the deployed wireless devices on cell towers and in buildings has been widely studied by multiple entities, and without any exceptions that I can think of, damage to human tissues has not been found to be a problem. Now, Will that always be the case? The answer is no. If for some unlucky reason you happen to be near the transmitter of a cellular telephone and cellular site, and it transmits a very large signal, you happen to be unlucky to be in the near field of the antenna, you might receive some damage. But normal everyday use of 4G and 5G signals is not a problem in terms of damage to human tissues. Now, there's a lot of controversy in 5G now because of the large-scale involvement and commitment by a Chinese company known as Huawei. And this is because lots of the Western democracies, including the United States and Canada and our allies, are suspicious of illicit activities that Huawei might be doing on behalf of the People's Republic of China in their intelligence gathering capabilities. So the kind of research that, say, Virginia Tech and the Commonwealth Cyber Initiative would undertake is, how can I secure the integrity and privacy of the data that will be transmitted over anyone's equipment, including Huawei, and allow Huawei to sell its equipment in the United States, etc., and your data be protected. So it's a development ecosystem, and a lot of the stuff that I've been hearing are based on large scale and largely and widely held suspicions about the involvement of the United States government and its allies in the and corporations, etc., doing 5G. And in general, the level of trust in our institutions in the United States, whether it's government or corporate, are at an all-time low. So in my opinion, the right way to deal with this 5G is to be as transparent as possible. Tell people what you're doing. Tell them why you're doing it.
One of the things you mentioned is that there is no real risk of any kind of harm or damage unless somebody is unfortunate enough to be close to a transmitter at the time of
at a high-powered transmitter at a cell site.
Okay, you're not referring to, when you say that, you're not talking about the everyday cell phone tower that seems to be on every corner these days, are you?
So if let me be more explicit. If you're unlucky enough or dumb enough to climb up on one of those towers and stand near one of those antennas, you could be harmed. But someone standing on a street or anywhere near them on the ground or in a building, they are not going to be harmed by those emanations in any study that I have seen, and the studies have been extensive.
Okay. What about the idea that these signals don't travel that far, and that's why there is this talk of there needing to be so many repeaters out there? I think that's where some of the fear comes in, because people imagine these somewhat powerful transmitters almost every block or so.
Okay, so the small scale repeaters hooked together in a mesh network are going to be needed in order to take these signals and allow them to be moved around where they needed to be moved around to support your devices. So there is both an element of truth and an element of utter and complete misunderstanding in the statement you've made. So the element of truth is there are going to be small signals that need to be transported across distances where these signals, given the bands that will be, the frequencies that will be used, don't travel long distances well. Now, this is offset by technology that will be developed that will allow the chipset itself that generates these frequencies to make tiny beams. which focus the receiver capability and the transmit capability at the target of interest. So if you have a cell phone in your hand using one of these millimeter wave bands and you're inside an office and it has one of these devices, that device that's in your office will overcome some of the distance limitation by beamforming its signal to and from your phone. So you will have your kind of own antenna, but that own antenna will be dynamic. It will follow you around, or when you're no longer using it, it will allocate the antenna to another person, and it will move around. And no person will be subjected to a large amount of signal, and it will be focused primarily by the devices on the handset in your hand or next to your head, and your head will receive almost none of the emanations because it's targeted at the tiny antenna that's on the handset. So the technology is going to take care of the longer distances needed and the higher frequencies used, and they are needed. They are needed because these higher frequencies carry much more data than we currently have available.
And we certainly are, as consumers and people, using more and more data and bandwidth. It seems like every day we're adding another device, we're getting another phone. We're just, the days of it being a big deal to have 2 phone lines in your house are long gone and never coming back.
I don't even have a landline in my home. I have all wireless devices in my home, and that is only going to increase with time.
Dr. McGwier, we only have a couple of minutes left. Can you tell everybody where they can find your work, learn about the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Tracking Network, and where they can find what you're up to?
Sure. So we have a website. It's www.uaptn.com, and the website's just been stood up, so it's in the early days, but you can learn something of our mission, who the people are that are involved, and shortly we will be standing up a forum where there will be multiple channels in this forum that's available for discussion. And people will be able to sign up and become members of this forum, and there will be community-led discussions on various topics surrounding both the devices, the software, the deployment, etc. And we're hoping to develop a community of people that will aid other people getting going and involved in our efforts. So right now the website's the best place, but we're also on Twitter with UAPTN is our Twitter handle, and there'll be other things that are coming, but those are the principal means right now.
Well, Dr. McGwier, it's been a quick 2.5 hours. I feel like we've barely scratched the surface on so many different topics, on so many different levels. I was hoping to get to ask you about the experiment with bouncing the waves off the ionosphere during the eclipse, but we didn't even get to that. I hope we have another opportunity to talk, because there's so many things we could talk about, and I just want to say thank you so much for joining us on short notice tonight.
Everett, it's been my pleasure, and I hope people found it informative.
I'm sure they did. And with that, we're going to step out for a break on Spaced Out Radio.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do?
Why not get bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night. This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Are you addicted to the woo? Good. Me too. This is Dave Scott, and you can woo it up with me every Monday through Friday, starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, for 3 hours of great entertainment in the subjects you love. UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, intuition. Yes, we hit it all 5 days a week. Look for us at spacedoutradio.com, where together, my friends, we own the night.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines Report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Hey Spaced Out Radio fans, it's John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from dance to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. This is it. This is it for me. I'm done. I've had the opportunity to sit in for Dave Scott while he's at UFOCon 2020, but he's going to be back on Monday, and that means I get pushed back into the closet. And along with that, though, you know, we got one more segment here to have a little bit of fun. And Richard Black from Shark Island has been kind enough to join me all week, or at least through the part of the week that I'm filling in for Dave. Richard has been kind enough to join me and kind of go over the news with me and have a conversation. And I'm sure you've seen that.
It's been my pleasure.
I'm sure the listeners can realize that sometimes we start at point A and never quite get to point B. But Richard, I want to say thank you so much. I know it means a lot to have you come on and just kind of talk about this weird stuff with me. It's really an honor.
Well, thanks for having me. I mean, thanks for considering for your show. I've had a great time. You know, what people don't know is that we start our conversations like before we come on air, and we like run out of time. You know?
And last night we talked for somewhere between an hour and a half after the show ended.
Yeah. I know, it's insane.
We just kept on going.
I hope we're as brilliant on air as we are when we're just talking to each other.
You know, that's one of the things that I fear, because I'll tell you, every now and then, you know, you look over the microphone and you look at the different screens and you start to realize there are people listening. And when I'm all by myself, I am fantastic. I have words flowing out of me left and right. When that mic goes hot, those nerves do jump up a little bit.
Yeah, well, I could see how that could happen. I could see how that could happen.
Well, but see, you're a seasoned live performer. You're used to getting the reaction from the crowd right away and knowing what's going on. Me, you know, I'm not so much.
Yeah, I guess I'm into instant gratification, and you're more of a patient fella. So I don't know. It's all the. I found that in my career, you know, throughout, you know, my 40-year career in music, that the only time you ever get nervous is if you're not sure what's going to happen or if you're going to be able to pull something off. You know, if you're not, but if you're prepared and you know what you're doing and you know, did your research ahead of time, you just come on, then it's just a conversation. That's all it is. You know, you don't try to make airs of being someone else. You just kind of share as much as you can.
You go along with the flow, and you know, I'm used to the audience reaction a little bit, in that I can judge whether I'm doing a good job or not based on what the people in front of me are doing or how they're reacting. And with this, it's completely different. It's a little bit of a shock to the system. But, you know, this is our final night to get to do this together. And there are a couple of stories that I really want to talk to you about, because they kind of shocked me. And one of them is, there is a brain surgeon in London who, well, they performed brain surgery and removed a tumor from this woman's brain while she continued to play violin, to make sure that they did not affect any of the music centers of her brain. Have you ever heard of something like that? Somebody having brain surgery, not only being conscious, but also playing an instrument at the same time?
Well, no, not playing an instrument I haven't heard, but I have heard of a awake surgery on the brain where the surgeon's like poking around their head, and they want to make sure they don't kind of disturb areas, you know. I mean, it's I think it's really good in theory. It's almost kind of arrogant, though. I don't know if they're really, I mean, how do they know that certain memories aren't kind of stashed away in different places, you know, and there's different aspects of it. Like, was that a violin? Is that what it was that she was playing?
Yeah, she's a 53-year-old Island of Wight Symphony Orchestra member, and she was she was so concerned that this would be affected that they decided to do this.
Yeah, but the thing is, so they're doing this, and then they go, okay, we managed to avoid the area where she has memorized how to how to play a violin. But what if there's like an emotional side of it, a component that kind of ties into it, her ability to play? Okay, there's the ability to play, then there's the ability to just be in the zone and be, artistic and expressive, and maybe that is drawn from a different part of the brain. So she might have lost something she doesn't even know she lost yet. Who knows? Who knows what it is?
Yeah,
the brain is very complicated. Of course, what a stupid thing to say. But, who knows? They don't really know. They don't really know much about it,
Well, they posted a YouTube video of this, and I'm going to tell you, I couldn't watch it because I want to be under full anesthetic when I'm having a sliver removed. But I started to watch it, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't imagine even wanting to do something like that. As much as I want to save every part of my brain, and I would think that you would too, it just doesn't seem like something that is advisable.
Well, I've known a couple people. I've known one guy. I'm one of my one of my very best friends is an anesthesiologist. So he tells me the war stories from the emergency room and all kinds of surgeries and so forth. And I also have another friend who just had a brain surgery. He went in for something, almost unrelated, and they did some pictures or something and with some pains. And on his way home, they called him and told him to come back because he had this huge tumor on his brain. And then he was scheduled within the next 3 days to have the thing removed. And I got to tell you, he took a hit. He was able still to walk, but I could tell he was like having trouble coming up with words, and ideas and expressing himself completely. And it took a real long time, and I don't think he ever quite came back. It's been probably right now, it's been about, maybe 9 months or a year. But it's still, there's like some little tiny thing that isn't exactly right. He just took a hit. That's about the best way I can explain it.
I think that's probably the best way to explain it.
Anyway, can you imagine there's been instances as far as surgery goes where people wake up out of anesthesia. This person never went in, but
go ahead.
Well, from what I understand about surgery, from my friend explained, he says, well, not only do they just put you out, put you unconscious, but they have to kind of paralyze you. They paralyze the body with another agent, so you can't move. They can't have you flailing about during a delicate surgery of any kind, whether it's a brain or a chest, and then they put you out as well. But there's been instances when people have come out of their anesthesia, so they're completely aware of what's happening, and they can feel what's happening, but they're unable to move.
Yeah, that is terrifying.
That is horrifying.
Not that I've experienced it, but just the idea of waking up on a bed, having somebody perform these surgeries and being aware of it and being able to feel it.
And not being able to tell them, hey, man, this is, hey, excuse me.
Yeah, that. Oh gosh, you know what? It makes me not want to go to the doctor because every time I go to the doctor, something's wrong, and I don't want to deal with that. Hey, did you happen to see this story? We'll move on from the medical stuff a little bit here, but there's a story out of Stark County, Ohio, where I don't know what to say about this. A 36-year-old woman was arrested after repeatedly calling 911 to complain that her parents shut off her cell phone.
That's a riot. Yeah, I actually did. I did read that. That's not the first time something like that has happened. People call emergency 911 because their French fries are too cold.
Oh, of course
they do. They do all kinds of.
But just
33-year-old.
Just the audacity of telling the 911 operator that she believed the idea that her parents turning off her phone was a reason and an offense that deserved to be investigated as an emergency by the police.
Oh God, it's just. I guess it's just ignorance. I guess that's all it could be. I mean, it's not. What else can it be? Just kind of like ignorant. I mean, you can't.
You know, if you're 36 years old and your parents are paying your cell phone bill, maybe you should be turned off.
Well, that's the other problem. Yeah, that's what I said. I mean, it's just that component too. It's my parents. You know, your parents. You're 33. You are your own being. It's like you're. It should be anyway.
And to have the nerve, she wasn't arrested so much for making the call. She was arrested because she got belligerent with the police officers and the 911 operator. So not only is she making an unnecessary call, she's being apparently pretty rude about it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have a feeling. I have a feeling that probably drugs were involved in some capacity. Would you say?
You're probably right.
Yeah, probably. Oh God.
But we're like over halfway through the segment already, Richard, and I'm gonna miss talking to you every day because this is a special time for me. But I want to move on.
Well, you can call me. You can call me. You got my number, so you can call me if you want to hear a whole lot of nothing.
Oh, you know, when you and I sit down and talk, there is never silence in the conversation. But I want to get your opinion on this one because there are so many things wrong with this story. There was a family that was leaving to go on an overseas vacation, and they ended up leaving their 14-year-old daughter alone at the airport and continued on the vacation with their 11 and 9-year-old children. And they left the little girl or the teenager at the airport because her passport was close to being expired, and they wouldn't let her fly on the aircraft out of the country with her passport being so close.
Well, that's true. That part of it I know is true because my sister-in-law had a planned trip to Germany, and she was traveling with a friend, and went up to the counter and they checked her passport, and they looked at her passport and said, "You won't be traveling today." Just like that.
Right. Yeah. That part is true.
Yeah. So that part is true, but I think that story appeared in a couple places, and on its face it sounds okay. It sounds horrific. They left the 14-year-old behind, but they left out the part. I mean, to be fair, they left out the part that they called her real father.
No, they called her grandfather. The gentleman in the story is her real father. It's her stepmother and her I guess they would be half siblings. And
okay, so somebody came and picked her up.
But still,
so she wasn't abandoned there
for a little while until her grandfather got there. But still,
really, what would you do? I mean, what did you expect the guy to do? And his family is like the rest of the family. They were going to cancel the whole trip. They were just okay. We're going home.
I get that, but I could not imagine leaving one of my kids at the airport so I can continue on with my holiday.
What if you had a brother or something, and you could say, hey Rod, can you just come down and pick up Natalie? You know, her something's wrong with her passport, and damn it, I wish we could have went, but I don't want to lose out for everybody else. So can you come pick her up? Yeah, sure, I'll pick her up. I mean, all of a sudden the story doesn't sound that bad anymore, right?
Well, you know, the part that sounds bad is that the father was willing to stay back and stay home with her, but his wife did not want him to stay home because she did not want to take care of the two younger siblings or the two younger children all on her own while she was on this vacation.
Right.
So I think
the 14-year-old wasn't hers either, right?
No, that would be her stepdaughter. So I think there's an interesting family dynamic going
seated
on
jealousy.
there.
Yeah. There's a lot going on. That's a messy family right there. That's a circus right there.
And because everybody does it these days, when this happened and the story began to break, the father turned to social media and Reddit to get some form of approval or answer on whether or not what he did was right.
Oh, really? He needs to have some justification from social media? Oh, my God. I told you, something's wrong with that family.
The important thing is that they made it clear that they did not have that great of a time on their vacation after leaving this one child home.
Oh, no doubt. And he was probably watching since he's into social media, he's probably checking up on it and seeing how he was being portrayed.
You think?
I didn't tell you to leave her there.
I told you I should have stayed with her. Look, everybody hates me.
Well, you know what? That brings up another interesting factor to this. He had given the older daughter's mother the application to complete to have her passport renewed, and she didn't complete it and didn't give it back to them.
Good. She should have been left behind. I don't feel bad for her at all. I haven't. I heard that part too. Since there was actually stuff in the works to straighten out the passport thing, and somebody just flaked.
Yeah,
right?
that's
somebody flaked. Somebody flaked.
Well, you know what's going to happen is they're all going to point fingers at each other and say it was this person's fault, not mine, and turn to social media some more, looking for some approval.
That'll make them sleep better.
Hey, whatever works.
A bunch of strangers just writing about nothing.
Hey, I want to ask you if you've heard about this, because it happened relatively close to my house. It's in a town called Lockport, Illinois. And there's a there's a family there that says they're hearing weird sounds and like radio emanating right from their walls, and they've heard it periodically off and on for the last 6 years. And it's been so bad recently that they actually called the police and made 2 police reports. And in one of them, an officer said that he could actually hear voices and music. But he also
there was a 911. Did they call 911 or did they just call police?
I think with this one they took the time to call the non-emergency number. But in one of the reports, the police officer notes that he could hear voices and what appeared to be music. But he also noted that he was able to hear a commercial quite clearly for a local radio station. So, where do you think these noises are coming from?
You said they were coming out of the wall, right?
Well, but they have to be originating somewhere. I mean, they made it clear that they don't have wall-mounted speakers or anything like that, but it's almost as if their house is acting as a giant both antenna and speaker.
Well, it would appear so, unless they just had the hole in the wall from the family fight repaired the other day, and the guy that was doing the drywall left his transistor radio in the wall and painted it over. But you said 6 years, so that's impossible. 6 years? How could that be? Where's the power?
If you know of batteries that'll last for 6 years, will you tell me what brand it is?
I'll buy them and get some stock too. Heck yeah.
And there are six
years.
There are about 6 radio towers, not that far from their home, and they're owned by a media company who actually sent an engineer out to kind of look at the situation and see if it was something that maybe the towers were broadcasting at too powerful a wattage, or if there was something in the house that was. What's that?
Maybe it's 5G.
Well, he went through the house, And he could not find any explanation for this, for these noises.
How bizarre.
It's weird. I mean, it could be just a matter of, remember the old Gilligan's Island episode, I believe it was, where they were picking up radio transmissions in the filling? Or was that... Was that Gilligan?
No, it was... Yeah, it might have been, but where were they picking up the radio stations from? From what?
They were getting the radio stations picked up in, I can't remember whose mouth, but it was from their filling.
Yeah, it was from a filling. Yeah, I remember that. It was probably Gilligan. He'd be the patsy for that.
And it was nice that the professor could come up with a metallic compound to fill his cavity, but yet never bothered to build a boat.
Exactly, yeah. He just mined some amalgam and put it together and fixed his buddy up.
But
I don't know. Maybe it's some freak wiring arrangement in the house, and it was just like a 1 in a million thing, and it was just maybe picking up power from the household wiring, and somehow they say if you put 100 monkeys in a room with word processors, that eventually you'll get Hamlet. But
that is true. Hey, Richard, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but we are just about out of time.
You're outie. Okay.
And since this is the last time that you're going to be on with me for a while, you want to tell everybody where they can find that new Shark Island CD? I think it's called Bloodline.
I get to do this shameless plug on the new album that I just finished. It was just released on last Friday on Valentine's Day, and it's called Bloodline. It's kind of a hard rock album. And it's kind of a retro mod hard rock, and you can find out all about it. SharkIslandMusic.com. That's our website, and from there you could kind of use that as a vaulting point to go get as interested as you want in it. And you can have a listen to some music. You can buy some music and support the cause. Thanks.
And it's a fantastic album. I've listened to. I was listening to a couple of the singles today. It is awesome. But Richard, I'm going to get you to hold on for a second because we have to wrap this up, and I have to get out of here. So hold on 1 second, and I'm going to finish this up.
Got it.
We've got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. A special thank you to everyone listening in at home, in your cars, at work, in our chat rooms, and wherever you may be. Remember, this show is copywritten by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. I want to say thank you for letting me invade your homes for a few nights here. I want to say thank you to Dave. This is kind of like an Oscar speech because I'll never win one. But I just want to say it's been so much fun. And there's one more thing to say. Remember, my friends, we own the night.